What's up, everybody, and welcome to Read the Bible with me, Stan Jr., and today we're looking at 2 Samuel chapter 19. If you're new here, go ahead and click subscribe to this channel and turn on your notification bell. We read one chapter a day, every day. We've been doing that for over a year now. And if you are a Bible Club member, go ahead and click like on this video and leave a comment below. Bible Club members, I'm so grateful for you because you allow us to support the missionaries that we've sent out in the mission field, as well as send Bibles to persecuted Christians. So thank you for your generous donation. If you'd like to become a Bible Club member and join the club, you can click the link in my description, join the club there. So, chapter 19 of 2 Samuel. Verse 1, it says, "It was told to Joab, behold, the king is weeping and mourning for Absalom. So the victory that day was turned into mourning for all the people. For the people heard that day the king is grieving for his son. And the people stole into the city that day as people steal and who are shamed when they flee in battle. The king covered his face, and the king cried with a loud voice, 'Oh, my son Absalom! Oh, Absalom, my son, my son!' Then Joab came into the house of the king and said, 'You have today covered with shame the faces of all your servants who have this day saved your life, and the lives of your sons and daughters, and the lives of your wives and concubines, because you love those who hate you and hate those who love you? For you have made it clear today that commanders and servants are nothing to you. For today I know that if Absalom were alive and all of us were dead today, then you would be pleased. Now, therefore, arise, go out and speak kindly to your servants, for I swear by the Lord, if you do not go, not a man will stay with you in this night. And this will be the worse for you than all the evil that has come upon you from your youth until now.' Then the king arose and took his seat in the gate, and the people were all told, 'Behold, the king is sitting in the gate.' And all the people came before the king. And this is just a product of a toxic relationship. You know how toxic relationships are. They pull you away from the people that actually love you, and you just keep pouring in and developing a relationship with that person that's no good for you. That's what happens. And so you'll be mourning when the day everybody's supposed to be celebrating because that person has left. You're supposed to be happy that that person is out of your life. But you're sitting around moping about them when they really didn't have good intentions for you at all anyway. Very important to understand what a toxic relationship looks like and to gather around people that love you so they can tell you that this relationship is not a godly one. You need to get out of it. The rest of verse 8. Now Israel had fled every man to his own home, and all the people were arguing throughout all the tribes, saying, 'The king delivered us from the hand of our enemies and saved us from the hand of the Philistines, and now he has fled out of the land of Absalom. But Absalom, whom we anointed over us, is dead in battle. Now therefore, why do you say nothing about bringing the king back?' And the king David sent the message to Zadok and Abiathar the priests, say to the elders of Judah, 'Why should you be the last to bring the king back to his house? When the word of all Israel has come to the king, you are my brothers, you are my bone and my flesh. Why then should you be the last to bring back the king? And say to Amasa, are you not my bone and my flesh? God do so to me, and more also, if you are not my commander of my army from now on in the place of Joab.' And he swayed the heart of all the men of Judah as one man, so that they sent word to the king, 'Return both you and all your servants.' So the king came back to the Jordan, and Judah came to Gilgal to meet the king and to bring the king over the Jordan. And Shemiah, the son of Gera, the Benjamite from Bahurim, hurried to come down with the men of Judah to meet King David, and with him were 1,000 men from Benjamin. And Ziba, the servant of the house of Saul, and his 15 sons and his 20 servants rushed down to the Jordan before the king, and they crossed the ford to bring over the king's household and to do his pleasure. And Shemiah, the son of Gera, fell down before the king, and as he was about to cross the Jordan, he said to the king, take it to my heart, for the servant knows that I have sinned. Therefore, behold, I have come this day, the first of all the house of Joseph, to come down to meet my lord the king.' Abishai and the son of Zeruiah answered, 'Shall not Shemiah be put to death for this, because he cursed the Lord's anointed?' because he cursed the Lord's anointed. But David said, "What have I to do with you, the sons of Zeruiah, that you should this day be an adversary to me? Shall anyone be put to death in Israel this day? For I do not know that I am this day king for over Israel." And the king said to Shemaiah, "Shall you not die?" And the king gave him his oath, "You shall not die." And Mephibosheth, the son of Saul, came down to meet the king. He had neither taken care of his feet, or trimmed his beard, nor washed his clothes from the day the king departed until the day he came back in safety. And when he came to Jerusalem to meet the king said to him, "Why did you not go with me, Mephibosheth?" He answered, "My lord, O king, my servant deceived me. For your servant said to him, I will saddle a donkey for myself, that I may ride on it and go with the king. For your servant is lame, and he has slandered your servant to my lord the king. But my lord the king is like an angel of God. Do therefore what seems good to you. For all my father's house were but men doomed to death, my lord the king. Before my lord the king, but you set your servant among those who eat at your table? What further right have I then to cry to the king?" And the king said to him, "Why speak any more of your affairs? I have decided. You and Ziba shall divide the land." And Mephibosheth said to the king, "Oh, let him take it all, since my lord the king has come safely home." Now Barzillai the Gileadite had come down from Rogilim, and he went on with the king to the Jordan to escort him over the Jordan. Barzillai was a very aged man, 80 years old, and had provided the king with food while he stayed at Mahanaim, for he was a very wealthy man as well. And the king said to Barzillai, "Come over with me, and I will provide for you with me in Jerusalem." But Barzillai said to the king, "How many years have I still to live, that I should go up with the king to Jerusalem? I am this day 80 years old. Can I discern what is pleasant and what is not? Can your servant taste what he eats, or what he drinks? Can I still listen to the voice of singing men and singing women? Why then should your servant be an added burden to my lord the king? Your servant will go a little way over the Jordan with the king. Why should the king repay me with such a reward? Please let your servant return, that I may die in my own city near the grave of my father and my mother. But here is your servant Chimham. Let him go over with my lord the king, and do for him whatever seems good to you." And the king answered, "Chimham shall go over with me, and I will do for him whatever seems good to you. And all that you desire of me, I will do for you." Then all the people went over the Jordan, and the king went over, and the king kissed Barzillai and blessed him, and he returned to his own home. The king went on to Gilgal, and Chimham went on with him. All the people of Judah, and also half of the people of Israel, brought the king on his way. Then all the men of Israel came to the king and said to the king, "Why have our brothers the men of Judah stolen you away and brought the king and his household over the Jordan, and all David's men with him?" All the men of Judah answered the men of Israel, "Because the king is our close relative. Why then are you angry over this matter? Have we eaten all at the king's expense, or has he given us any gift?" And the men of Israel answered the men of Judah, "We have 10 shares in the king, and David also we have more than you. Why then did you despise us? Were we not the first to speak on bringing our king back?" But the words of the men of Judah were fiercer than the words of the men of Israel. And we see now a split between the northern and the southern kingdom. A very, very, very small, but it's there. And so we see David is back. And David is now doing what Jesus taught thousands of years later, but he's actually living out to not repay evil for evil. Not repay evil for evil. So it's interesting that David is saying, "No, I will not go and kill those that were on the other side of this issue. I'm going to be faithful to the Lord, and I'm going to let the Lord fight my battles." When you know that you are truly the Lord's anointed, and David stated there, he said, "Don't I know I am the king now? I have the power to do this. I'm not going to do it." People with true power rarely use it, because they know it comes with great responsibility to the Lord. And so he says, I know who I am. So I don't have to run around like a little kid getting everybody back. When someone does something harm to me, I know that I have the power to, with my God, that God is going to revenge. And I don't have to fight. God's going to fight on my behalf. And let that be our same position in our life as believers. Thank you for reading chapter 19 with me today. Next time I see you, we'll be reading chapter 20 of 2 Samuel. God bless you. Peace.